So hello and welcome programmers. In this video we are going to see the very simple split method in JavaScript. Now you might have noticed this method in some tutorial or in some course that you're following, so you'll be confused what it is. So that's what we are going to see in a simple example. So right now I have a code pen over here that it's named JS methods. You can check it out. I will leave in the link in the description. You can also fork it. I don't know where's the fork button. Yeah, I cannot fork it because I have it. So now we're going to be having the HTML and the CSS part very quickly because we don't have time to type it out. So I'm just going to copy it and then paste it in the HTML section. And what it does basically is it's a div. Okay, we just have the body here, so it's a div that contains an h1 with some text. The text that change hello world to hello. What split method does is simply you give it a string and it cuts out the string, splits it into parts about whatever you pass in the split. Okay, so that's what we're gonna see. And I have a simple button with the text of split text and then an h2 with the id of text, so that when it says hello world, and we can cut that into hello when the button is clicked. Okay, so yeah, that's the HTML. Let's copy the CSS. I'm just gonna paste it in the CSS part. Okay, and this is also very basic CSS. So you have a div, you say display flex direction column, so it goes column. You have some height, you have align items and justify content center, and then you have font family sans serif. Then I'm styling the button with the some font size, some padding and some margin. That's it. Okay, very simple thing. So I'm just gonna minimize this and also the HTML part somewhat like this. Okay, now let's get to the amazing JavaScript part. Well, it's a really nice simple method. So that's what we're gonna do. So very first of all, we are going to pick those elements. So first of all, I'm just going to pick up the text element. That is I'm going to name it text elim, and I'm going to set it equal to document dot, we have the id of text, right? So I'm just going to say document dot get element by id, and then pass in the id, and the id is text, right? So now we have the text element, and I'm going to pick the button as well. So I'm just going to say const, I'm going to name it button, and I'm going to set it equal to document dot, we don't have an id here, and we don't also want, because there is only one button. So I'm just going to pick it up with the query selector, not all, query selector, and then I'm just gonna pass in the name of the tag, that is button. Okay, query selector, if you don't know, it's just the selector, and you pass in the CSS selector. If it's an id, you pass in hash before it. If it's a class, you pass in dot before it, and if it's a tag name, then just the tag name. So now I'm gonna minimize the HTML part. We are done with the HTML, selecting the elements. So we have the text, we have the button. We want to say button dot, you can just do add event listener, but that's that's too long, right? So we can just do button dot on click. So that is targeting the on click attribute in the button. So button dot on click, and then we're going to run a function, an arrow function. Okay, if you don't know an arrow function, that's simply, you can just create another function, but we are going to run this arrow function right here. And in the parameters, we are just going to pick up the e or event. There is nothing but e dot target. E is an object that is related to this element. Okay, and the e dot target means the target property is the actual element itself. So now we want to create the new text out of the old text. Okay, so we have the old text inside of this element, right? So let's create a new text. So I'm going to say const new text will be equal to, we're going to take the text element, and we want to target the dot inner text. I mean, we have the inner text right here, right? You can also do dot inner HTML, but we're going to be doing dot inner text. So dot inner text contains the text that is inside of the so we're going to pick up that inner text, and it's always a string, and then I'm going to say dot split. There the method comes. So we are going to split it, and then whatever you pass in inside of this split, what it does, it takes it and then splits it and then keeps it in an array. We want to change the hello world to hello, so that means we don't want world. So hello and world have something in between, they have the space, so we're going to target the space. Okay, so I'm going to pass in the space, so that means a string with a space, that means an empty string. So it's going to split the inner text to with a space. Okay, and let me show you what it returns. So I'm just going to console.log the new text that we get, and you can open up the console from here, and these are some errors in the beginning. So now when I click this button, you will see we'll get hello and world in an array, and as you can see, it split that hello and world and put them inside of an array. So hello in an array and then world in an array. Very simple, right? If you pass anything else, so for instance, if I pass in L, it will split the text and then make it in L's, I mean without any L. So if I click on split text, you'll see we get HE and then an empty string, O and then space, then world dot. And if you want to read more about it, I will leave a link in the description below for the documentation at MDN. It will be, I mean, it's a very nice method. So back to our work, we want it on a space. Okay, so we want to split it with the space, and we just don't want to console log, we want to change it. So we are going to change the inner text to the new text. Actually, not to the new text. I'll show you what to do. So now we want to pick up the text element, we want to target the inner text on it, and then we want to set it equal to the new text, right? But new text is an array. We want the first element in that array, which is hello, not the second element. So it's an array, right? So I can just do index 0. If you know, this is an array, and then if we do index 0, we pick up the first element in the array. So now let's clear the console, and if I click on split text, it will change it to hello, right? Now the text element dot inner text is also hello. That's fine, but if we click this button again, nothing really happens. So it's not good to keep it like that. So I like to just take the button. So e dot target, that means I told you e dot target is the element itself, and then I want to pick up the disabled property and then set it to true, and by that the button will be disabled once it's clicked. So now it's disabled, right? I can't click it. So that's a very simple thing, and you can just practice split wherever you get it. Okay, wherever you think, okay, I have this sentence or I have this text, I want to split it by this letter or by this word. You can just do that very simply by following this tutorial. If you like this tutorial, please make sure to like it and then subscribe the channel and have a comment in below, so that I mean, if you have any requests for another videos, or if you are if you want these kind of videos, or any comments or suggestions, anything you want. And finally, thanks for watching.